Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This bigger show, we're talking about TV shows that are adaptations of comic book. Before I get into this, if you're asking yourself, hey, here's Black Lightning, well, where's Supergirl? Obviously, I put Supergirl and The Flash and Arrow all together for, because of the Elseworld crossover event, so it's like all one podcast made of all three episodes. It actually went up before this one, so just kind of letting you know that ahead of time in case you were curious of where Supergirl was and everything. But for today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Black Lightning. I do apologize that the intro ended up being a little wordy like that and stuff. But nevertheless, a lot of interesting things went down in this episode. Obviously, the hunt for Jennifer goes on. The fact of the matter is, I thought it was kind of a neat episode because it seems like we see her power developing in very interesting ways. Because first of all, the fact of the matter is, Khalil is getting worse because it turns out, he was in fact poisoned. So, obviously, initially, Jennifer just thinks it's an infection, so she goes to steal some meds. And it's kind of interesting because she could hear, the power from the computer. So, her powers kind of, let her kind of hear the electricity. And so she kind of touches it, short-circuits it, and is able to kind of get the medicine out. So, there's that situation. Gets back. But, everything's kind of good. She's got a medicine, but he's not getting better. And it's kind of like this, like I said, very Romeo and Juliet thing of, you see her kind of, breaking down. She literally prays to God that Khalil doesn't die, but she didn't even want to tell him that, because she doesn't want him to be like, wait, I might be dying or whatever. She didn't want to kind of bring that on him, so she didn't say anything. She kind of broke down outside so he wouldn't see that just because she's scared. Because I think it's the first time, that's happened in a situation where it's like, oh man, here's someone I care about that's literally dying in front of me. But what was interesting is, her brain, I guess that's going to be a constant thing from now on. Basically, the reality, the world that, Perina helped her set up in her mind is kind of I guess it's kind of where it's kind of her fortress of solitude in a certain sense. It seems like there's Perina there, but it's not actually Perina. It's Jennifer's manifestation of her to be her guide, and then there's another Jennifer, so I guess there's the her, and then the other Jennifer is her fear, so it's kind of I guess all three of them are going to be working together in conjunction inside of that little safe space for Jennifer, which I think is just a fascinating aspect. I hope we do get to continue seeing it. I hope it isn't just a one-off thing, because it might disappear later on the moment she learns how to control her abilities fully, but at the very least for right now, it seems like this might be the steps necessary towards doing that, because now it's she can actually see with her own eyes and electricity, because at least in Jeff's case, he can only really do it because of the goggles he's wearing are set to do that, but Jennifer's powers kind of showing just how powerful she's able to see it with her own eyes. I mean, maybe on some level, Jeff's situation is he can do it too. Maybe the goggles just help him amplify what he can already do. But Jennifer seems like it's leaps and bounds away from what Jeff, in the sense of she's so much stronger than Jeff in that regard, because she could see the electricity from the goggles. So I was like, where would it be electricity? Well, I guess it's night vision and stuff like that. But then she can also see the electricity of a human body. We almost saw her kind of go a little bit dark side of this episode too, because of the way she handled the whole Cutter situation. For one, zapping her and then punching her, kind of borderline torturing her, and then threatening her by cutting her with one of her own poisonous knives. And her, she ended up giving her the treatment, the antidote. I was curious to see if that was going to be a conversation between her and Khalil, but it's no, that was the decision she made on her own, which is good, because the fact is she didn't need to consult with someone else to do the right thing. She did the right thing nevertheless. I thought that was kind of pretty neat. Granted, Color ended up getting away, but we don't know where. I don't know if she retreated or not. It's actually kind of interesting because that turns into that thing of Tobias. At first Tobias is no, I don't want Khalil dead. I was is it because you're actually kind of a little sentimental about him? And then he was kind of it's what was it he said? Death by another hand would be too easy. And I'm all right, you want to kill Khalil yourself. So it's you wouldn't want him dead. You want him alive so you can kill him yourself. It's okay, that's, the typical villain type of situation in that regard. So that was kind of interesting. And since we are talking about Tobias, which is interesting, is that we get Ty, which I kept looking, why does that actor seem so familiar to me? And I think I remember why. he played Billy in the 2017 Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie. I was like, what? That's crazy, because I kept staring. I feel like there might be something else I know him from, but I think that's the most recent thing. But I feel like there's something else I might know him from, but nevertheless. I think it's because I think it's also because, like, he kind of reminds me of someone I used to know back in elementary school. That's kind of getting all personal and stuff like that. But I had a friend named, I think, Denzel, that he kind of reminds me of, but... Or was it Gregory? It's been so long. It's from years and years ago, so nevertheless. But it seems like he's helping out Todd. The fact of the matter is he's got a Khalil thing going on here, because he's like, yeah, man, they wouldn't give you that grant. And Todd was like, how'd you know that they weren't going to give me that grant before I did? And it's like, oh, maybe just because you have your connections. It's like, it's one justification for it, but it's like, no, it's just like the Khalil thing. You are a byproduct of what he was trying to do. Well, in the Khalil situation, Khalil was kind of a byproduct, and then you just ended up taking advantage of that situation. It's like you paralyzed him, and then it's kind of like, oh, why don't I take advantage of this situation that I created? It seems like he did the exact same thing in this regard. At the very least, he probably paid off the people not to give him the grant so that Todd would be desperate and be in a position where it's like, oh man, listen to me, come work for me. I'm assuming this has to deal with all that, like, stuff from the suitcase with Proctor. Like, cause we still do not know what it is Tobias has got going on. He's got all these little machinations, going on behind the scenes and stuff like that. And we see he's trying to bolster his, like, image to the public and stuff like that. But beyond that, we don't really know what it is he has 100% planned. So, but whatever it is, he needs someone like Todd, a very smart dude. We're still in the dark on that, so we'll kind of have to leave it at that. But it's like, yeah, he's like, oh yeah, here, I'm going to give you everything you want, which is like, kind of made that same promise to Khalil. And look where Khalil right now is, running for his life because Tobias wants him dead. So probably things aren't going to work that nicely for Todd, but we'll see. It's kind of interesting because it's almost like, in a sense, Tobias is almost building up a group again. I don't know. I guess, maybe in a sense, I doubt it's supposed to, like, replace Cyanide or his sister or his right-hand dude from season 1. I'm sure it's not going to replace any of them, like, because Tobias has gotten to the point where he made the old speech about, like, he'll use people, but he's not going to get close to people. Like, he made the mistake with Khalil. He's like, I'm not about to make that mistake again. So there's that avenue with everything. So this episode also kind of continues what I kind of brought up before, kind of like, you understand why Jennifer's doing what she's doing, but it is a little selfish in certain regards, because it's like, last episode we saw Tobias was starting to piece together, Black Lightning is coming after the Pierce girl again. I wonder what's the connection there. So they're, like, her family's secret's borderlining about to be kind of on the cusp of the last person you want to know knowing that. Because for one, knowing Tobias, I mean, that means he could strike at any point in time, come after family at any point in time, because he knows that you guys would be Jeff/Black Lightning's weakness. But there's also the avenue of, like, that means he could end up trying to blackmail Jeff with that information, or blackmail someone with that information. I don't know. I doubt blackmail is what he'd do. I mean, he does do that, and he would do that, but I guess with the Black Lightning thing, it's more like a, no, I'm going to kill you type of thing. So I don't think the extortion thing is something he'd even go about doing. Because I think, for Jeff, it'd be like, yeah, go ahead, tell people what I am. Like, me taking you down is more important than the world knowing who I really am, and put a target on him and his family's back. So it's, I don't know. I still feel like more so like Tobias would, want to put an end with it, into it, like, physically, and not just like use extortion and methods and stuff like that. So we'll see. But it's also the fact is that she ran into her, dad and Anissa at the hospital, but it's like, you ran away from them immediately. It's that situation of, like, Khalil's in the situation he is. It's almost that thing of, like, because I understand where her mentality is coming from, because it's like she was a prisoner, kind of locked up or whatever for so long. So it's like she's not willing to go back to that life, because if she goes back, she feels like the punishment's going to be bad. She knows she'll probably never be able to be free again. She'll be on lockdown permanently, even more so now. And then Khalil, she'll never be able to see him again. But to be fair, it's like you've got an assassin after you. Plus, the fact of the matter is, like, your parents, I think, have a little more insight to the situation. Jeff, maybe. Lynn might coddle you even more, because Lynn is breaking down this episode. First, she kind of hangs up on Jeff because it's like, you lost our daughter, you don't know where she is. Lynn's kind of handling things on her own. She goes to visit first Khalil's mom, which we learn about him having a brother, which that was kind of a sad situation. Like, he's kind of following in his brother's footsteps because his mom was like, I think I did it. Everything worked out. Khalil being on the right path, and then him getting shot. The moment he got shot, she knew it was just only a matter of time before he ended up becoming like his brother, because his brother was like, I think she was saying like barely 15 before he ended up dying on the streets from like being connected to the 100 and being on selling, drugs, mud in her, the word she used specifically. So kind of shows you kind of like the circumstance. That's probably why she pushed him so hard to kind of be good, put him on the right path and stuff like that, because she knew, because also their dad kind of, Kaido kind of falls in that same category too. In fact, while he was locked up, that's when, Khalil's brother died. But, Lynn actually went to go visit him because he recently got out of prison, literally had a shotgun on her, because let's not forget what happened the last time Lynn had a shotgun on her. She killed somebody. I think that's still something that's kind of borderline in the back of her mind. But the fact of the matter is, she was willing to bring a gun in this situation, because even Gambia was like, I'm not sure you should really go, but it's like, hey, the Pierce family has a tendency to be very, very stubborn. So luckily nothing went down, because Kaido was very helpful. He did point out something I thought was kind of interesting. Like, he pointed out information. I was like, how do you really know that? But I guess it's like, that world, so like, oh yeah, the fact that maybe he had heard in the grand scheme of things, like through the grapevine, like, oh yeah, like Tobias wants Khalil, or the fact is he knew that Khalil was working with Tobias, so it's kind of like, yeah, it was only a matter of time before Tobias wanted him kind of removed from the equation. But he even knew that Khalil wasn't living with Tobias. It's like, I know that for sure. It's like, how do you know that? Was he secretly staying with you and you're covering for him? Or, because it's like, I didn't even think about it, because of course Khalil wouldn't want to stay with Tobias. So it's like, where was he staying? Was he staying with a friend? Which his dad was kind of saying that, but he didn't know the address or who it was. And then, but I'm wondering, is his dad trying to cover? Because it might not be about covering for Khalil, because him just getting out of prison, he's got to keep, appearances up. So like, if he doing something shady, like having his son who's working with Tobias living with him, that might turn into a hairy situation. In his situation, that could be it. Could be more so covering for himself, but nevertheless, I'm just surprised this shotgun situation didn't come out. I was like, is he going to end up doing something? It's like nothing happened. It's like, okay, thank goodness. It's like, but I guess like it just shows you just how sad and just like desperate she is right now, because it's like her little girl's out there. There's even a moment later on where like they don't know what happened to Jennifer, because they see the robe, they see the blood, none of them are there, and it's like, okay, Cutter's a well-trained assassin, maybe she got to them first, and it's like, Jeff, tell me if my baby's dead or not. And honestly, he couldn't tell them once. And it makes Lynn break down, and Jeff feels so powerless, because for him, it's like, at first it was like, I'm Black Lightning and my daughter's in danger and I can't do a damn thing about it. I can't help her. I haven't saved her. It's like, I'm so used to saving the city, saving other people, but when it comes to my own family, I can't do it under these circumstances. So that's got to be a little heavy hearted, but it's like, once again, kind of what I was talking about, because Jennifer doesn't really realize what she's putting her family through right now, because it's that thing of like, you're so focused on what's in front of you, you're not paying attention to what you're leaving behind you, because because you running off on your own is just causing more and more trouble. Because even Khalil was like, maybe we should stop running, and she's like, no, we're in this together, we're ride or die. I wonder, is it because like, obviously the whole situation is supposed to be like both sides of her coming together, that the side and like inside of her brain, like the fierce side of her, maybe for her she's pushing the fierce side of her away, and it's just been like, no, we're good. Maybe after her confrontation with Cutter like that, maybe it's kind of making her a little overconfident in certain regards, and I have no idea, but it's like, she's like, I'm not going to leave your side, Khalil, because Khalil's like, this doesn't have to be your life. I'll have to run, but I don't want you spending the rest of your life running, because Tobias is always going to be coming after you and your family, which, once again, it's like, your family's worried about you. They love you. Like, the situation you're in, and they're trying to defend you, and you running away from them is just going to make matters worse. It's just, like I said, it's just, once again, it's that thing where it's like, you understand, but at the same time, you're like, man, you're not thinking clearly. You kind of thinking with your heart more than your head, which is like, in some cases, it seems like that is the appropriate thing to do. In this situation, it's like, I think it's not, because I feel like it's doing much more harm than good, but that's just my perspective on the situation. So, it's like, you're young, you're in love, this is all about her rebelling, and that's the sad thing is, it seems like all your action, it's like you're doing everything you can just to rebel against your parents and get away from them. It's like, I get what they did was messed up, you didn't like it, but it's like they did it for your own sake. And yes, it pushed you away hard in this case, but still, like, the fact of the matter is you're not even willing to turn to Anissa, I guess, because for her it's kind of under the same umbrella as their parents. So, but like, the fact is they're all over the place looking for you should show you their desperation. Even the fact of the matter is you literally have an assassin after you, more than one at this point in time. But I'll kind of get to that in a second. Another interesting element to this episode was the fact is that Jeff was willing to kind of take off by himself until Gamby was like, what the hell are you doing, dude? For one, you don't even have your suit on, so you need to have your suit on to protect you. But also, it's like, you know, if anything happens, you'll be exposed as Black Lightning because you'll be running around in your normal clothes as Jeff, and you'll just be putting your family in much more danger. For him, it's just because he was so short-sighted, because it's like, it's something him and Jennifer are kind of sharing just on opposite parallels, because she's being so short-sighted and trying to run away. He's becoming so short-sighted and trying to find her and track her down. So, because it also plays in parallel to, like, we see Lynn's desperation, now we're seeing Jeff's desperation, because for him it's like, once again, it's like, I can't do anything for her, I'm failing, you know, both Lynn and Jennifer, you know. So as both Black Lightning and Jefferson Pierce, I'm failing my responsibilities. It's kind of, you know, how he's taking that. So every time they get one step closer to Jennifer, it turns out that they're at least 2 steps behind. So, but what was really interesting too is the ending of the episode, where we get introduced to yet another villain. Looks like another assassin being hired to come to Freeland for this, potentially. I'd assume that's what this whole deal was about, but we'll see in the end, because now Khalil got away yet again from Carter the second time. Because remember, Tobias was all about, like, oh yeah, not letting things go afterwards. So, like, if Carter ever shows up around him, he'd most likely kill her, you know, because he isn't all about giving a lot of chances anymore like he did with Khalil. He, like I said, he made that whole point and everything. But this new guy seems brutal. The way he took down everyone in that bar by himself, it seems like he held no bars, held no punches, like no mercy. And it also seems like he can teleport too, so that's going to be tough to deal with. So I'm very interested to see where all of this takes us going forward into the next episode. Black Lightning is going on a little bit of a break and will be returning on January 21st. Now, if you didn't catch that, that will be on a Monday. So from this point on, for the rest of the season, I believe, Black Lightning will be on Mondays after Arrow. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.